Summer had always been my favorite season, a time of freedom, adventure, and endless possibilities. But what started as a season of joy and anticipation would lead me into a chilling, true horror story that forever changed my perception of the warm months. As the sun cast long shadows and the air buzzed with a sense of unease, I found myself trapped in a summer unlike any other. It all began on a scorching afternoon in June. The air hung heavy with humidity as I joined a group of friends at the local park. Laughter and excitement filled the air as we set up a picnic, the promise of good food and fun banishing any thoughts of the oppressive heat. As the day wore on, the sun began its slow descent on the horizon, casting long shadows that seemed to stretch across the park like sinister fingers. I brushed off the uneasy feeling, attributing it to the growing anticipation of the impending darkness. Little did I know that those shadows held secrets beyond my understanding. As night fell, we gathered around a crackling campfire, its warm glow a comforting contrast to the encroaching darkness. We shared stories, roasted marshmallows, and reveled in the camaraderie that summer always seemed to foster. But as the fire dwindled and the last embers flickered, a hush settled over the group. I glanced around, expecting to see the usual smiles and playful banter. But what I saw were tense expressions, wary glances, and a palpable sense of unease. I opened my mouth to speak, but my words were drowned out by the sound of footsteps that seemed to come from the surrounding shadows. We turned, our eyes scanning the darkness, but there was nothing, only the rustling of leaves and the distant hum of crickets. I felt a shiver run down my spine, a feeling that we were being watched by something unseen. "It's just an animal," someone said, their voice trembling. But deep down, we all knew it was something more. We laughed off the unease, attributing it to our overactive imaginations, and decided to call it a night. As we packed up our belongings and headed home, I couldn't shake the feeling that those shadows held secrets we were not meant to uncover. The following days were marked by a growing sense of foreboding. The sun shone brightly, but its warmth did little to dispel the chill that had settled in my bones. I tried to shake off the unease, immersing myself in summer activities, swimming, hiking, and late-night bonfires. But no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't escape the feeling that something was lurking just beyond my perception. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon and the sky was painted in shades of orange and pink, I found myself drawn to the park where we had gathered that fateful night. The memories of that evening haunted me, and I felt an irresistible pull to confront the unease that had taken root in my mind. The park was deserted, the play structures and picnic tables bathed in an eerie half-light. I walked along the familiar paths, my footsteps echoing in the stillness. And then, just as I was about to turn back, I saw it. A shadow, elongated and indistinct, stretching across the ground. My heart raced as I stared at the shadow, a sense of familiarity and dread intertwining in my chest. It was the same shadow that had crept across the park that night, the same shadow that had heralded the footsteps we couldn't explain. I felt a mixture of curiosity and fear, a determination to uncover the truth behind the shadows that seemed to haunt my every step. I followed the shadow, my pace quickening as it led me deeper into the park. The air grew colder, the atmosphere thick with an energy that sent shivers down my spine. And then, just as I rounded a corner, I saw it, a figure cloaked in darkness, standing just beyond the reach of the streetlights. My breath caught in my throat as I stared at the figure, its form shifting and undulating as if it was a part of the very shadows that surrounded it. Its eyes, pools of darkness, seemed to fixate on me, its gaze both penetrating and unsettling. "Who are you?" I managed to stammer, my voice barely audible. The figure remained silent, its presence a weight that seemed to press down on me. And then, with a sudden burst of movement, it retreated, melting into the shadows and disappearing from view. I stood there, my heart pounding, the feeling of being watched intensifying as if the very air was alive with unseen eyes. Determined to uncover the truth, I returned to the park night after night, each time drawn deeper into the enigma of the shadows. I researched local legends and ghost stories, searching for any clues that could shed light on the mysterious figure. But my efforts yielded nothing, only a growing obsession that consumed my thoughts. One night, as I stood at the heart of the park, the shadows seemed to come alive. They danced and twisted, forming intricate patterns that defied logic. And then, from within the depths of the darkness, the figure emerged, its form distinct now, its eyes pools of endless black. "Why are you here?" I demanded, my voice a mix of desperation and frustration. The figure remained silent, its gaze unyielding. And then, with a voice that seemed to echo from the depths of the abyss, it spoke. "We are the echoes of forgotten summers, the remnants of memories long buried." I felt a chill run down my spine, a realization dawning on me. The figure was a manifestation of the past, a specter born from memories that had been buried by time. It was the embodiment of the unease that had lingered in the shadows, the source of the footsteps we had heard that fateful night. "We seek release," the figure continued, its voice a haunting whisper. "We yearn to be remembered, to be acknowledged." I stared at the figure, the weight of its words settling in my chest. It was a plea for recognition, for validation. And in that moment, I understood that the shadows held not only fear, but also a longing to be understood. With a mixture of fear and empathy, I stepped forward, my hand outstretched. The figure remained still, its eyes fixed on mine. And then, with a touch as light as a breeze, our fingertips connected. In an instant, a rush of images flooded my mind. Memories of summers past, moments forgotten, laughter shared. I saw faces, heard voices, and felt emotions long buried. The figure was a conduit, a vessel through which the echoes of forgotten summers found a voice. As the images faded, the figure began to dissolve, its form unraveling like smoke in the wind. And then, with a final ethereal whisper, it was gone, leaving only the summer night's silence in its wake. I stood there, my heart racing, the weight of what I had experienced sinking in. The shadows that had once held fear now held a deeper meaning, a reminder that even in the darkness, there were stories waiting to be heard. From that day forward, I approached summer with a newfound perspective. The season held not only the promise of adventure and joy, but also the echoes of forgotten moments, the shadows of memories long gone. And as the sun cast long shadows and the air buzzed with the energy of summer, I couldn't help but feel a connection to the haunting shadows that had forever changed my perception of the warm months. A chilling, true summertime horror story that would stay with me for a lifetime.